Hi everyone, my name is Molly Owens and I am in the animation department and my thesis advisor is Aubrey Mintz. My thesis topic is on healing intergenerational trauma for Asian Americans, exploring the role of film and media. So my research question would be, how does film and media promote healing for Asian American intergenerational trauma? I'll be using my thesis topic to complete a creative project based upon my research in the form of a short animated film. I would like to use the knowledge I've gained in the research project process to make a compelling piece of film that helps others in the AAPI community feel represented and offer a starting point to address and heal their own intergenerational traumas. For my first theory, I'll be defining intergenerational trauma and what that means in an Asian American context. So intergenerational trauma refers to the transfer of trauma experiences from one generation to the next. So some following themes under this section would be identifying Asian American historical trauma, traumas caused by war, displacement, colonization, immigration, and so on, with specific examples such as the Vietnam War, Korean War, or Japanese internment camps. My next section would be identifying trauma symptoms and signs, such as emotional numbing and depersonalization, isolation and withdrawal, hypervigilance, just like some of the symptoms and signs of intergenerational trauma. And for my third point, I'll go into the established healing mechanisms for intergenerational trauma, delving into professional practices like therapy and mindful practices such as trauma pattern identification and identifying healthy coping mechanisms. For my second theory, I wanted to talk about the intertwined relationship between intergenerational trauma and immigration. So immigration and assimilation can be a source of intergenerational trauma for Asian Americans. Family separation, language barriers, and cultural conflicts can all contribute to emotional distress and mental health issues. So some sections or themes under this theory too would be emotional neglect. Oftentimes, AAPI cultural norms may prioritize silence, collectivism, and being hardworking, leading to a lot of emotional neglect in family settings. The stigma also around expressing one's feelings and mental health can often lead to destructive coping mechanisms like substance abuse and continued deterioration of family communication and understanding. The second section would talk about racism and stereotyping. The AAPI community faces unique challenges of racism and cultural rejection in the United States, leading many to feel shame and exclusion on top of the media's portrayal of the AAPI community as the model minority or perpetual foreigners. So these harmful stereotypes can often contribute to the feelings of disconnection from one's identity, which will lead into my third section of survival assimilation. In an effort to assimilate, many AAPI individuals try to balance traditional family values with those of the mainstream society, and that often leads to internal and familial conflicts, which then add to generational differences in culture and values, which oftentimes lead to misunderstandings and resentments between parents and children in AAPI families. My next theory would be discussing and highlighting healing from generational trauma as well as cycle breaking. This section would go into depths on professional therapy practices in place, as well as non-conventional tools such as film and media that can act as healing mediums. This section would include trauma acknowledgement. A lot of the times professionals emphasize this step, the need for acknowledgement and exploration of historical and personal trauma experiences in order to begin the healing process. This is especially important for Asian American intergenerational trauma, as that topic is often silenced or off limits amongst families. The next section would be the building of personal connections. Building healthy relationships with family members and the community may play a significant role in the healing process. And talking vulnerably and honestly with family or a therapist can be a very helpful step in beginning the healing process. My next section would be on cinema therapy. So the watching of films with themes of intergenerational trauma can serve as a form of therapy to gain insight and empathy, as well as take a step towards trauma acknowledgement, which is one of like the very important steps for generational trauma healing and breaking cycles. For example, we have Turning Red, Crazy Rich Asians, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. So these films do like wonders in AAPI representation. So Turning Red being a Pixar film depicting a Chinese-Canadian girl navigating pressures of family expectations and expressing her individualism. Crazy Rich Asians, which brought film-shattering, it brought down stereotypes of the Asian American community and showed that Asian Americans could be like the main star of a Hollywood movie. And Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is a super cool action-packed film that explores generational trauma, conflicts, cultural assimilation, and offers a unique exploration of the Asian American identity. Yeah, so that would be like the last of it for my thesis. And this would be the timeline for the prospectus. So I'd like to complete my literature review, begin the short film process of the pre-production in the summertime, complete pre-production in the summertime, and begin the actual production of my animated film that takes influence from my thesis research. And then hopefully by March, the film will be in post-production and be completed, and so will the creative project thesis, so the writing portion. So some potential roadblocks could be staying on schedule for timeline. Animated production timelines are notorious for being broken, so I'm going to try to stay on top of that. Any research gaps in theoretical concepts such as cinema therapy, there's not as much research on that, as well as I'm applying to internships, so that'll take some priority for myself. So for my research, or through my research, I would like to find out how film and media can help break intergenerational trauma cycles through representation and promoting healing practices. I want to encourage others through my film to continue to break their own generational traumas and create a stronger and healthier community.